The election is fast approaching and soon you'll be heading to the polls and exercising your civic duty as a member of one of the world's mostly functioning democracies. It's an honour, but also kind of really confusing and daunting. So here's your field guide to getting your ballot in and surviving election day.
It's Voting 101 for 2022 with Matilda Boseley from The Guardian, Australia.
If you've watched the whole series up to this point, you'll already know what your vote helps decide, how preferential voting works, the difference between voting above and below the line, and now let's learn how to actually do the damn thing. Part 1. Choosing your voting method. The first thing you're going to need to do is choose how you are going to physically submit your ballot. There are 3 main ways: postal, early or pre-polling, or the traditional on-the-day method. Postal votes are for people who can't make it in person to the polls. Perhaps they're in jail, maybe they're immunocompromised, maybe they just live too far away from the nearest voting centre. Now let's go to the next option, early voting. Early voting is exactly the same as traditional voting, except you can go to the polling booth anytime 12 days leading up to the election. It's technically meant for people who are unable to get to the booths on election day, but the electoral workers won't require you to provide any proof that this is actually the case when you arrive. Finally, we get to election day voting, which is how the Australian Electoral Commission would prefer you cast your ballot if you can. The benefits of this is feeling democracy manifest run through your veins. The negatives include long lines and it being really bloody hard to find a park. Part 2. Getting to the booth. If you're voting in person, you're going to want to look up your closest polling centre via the Australian Electoral Commission website. This is usually going to be a school or a church or another public building, and it will be open from 8 AM to 6 PM on election day. You can actually vote at any polling place in your state and territory, by the way. Even if it isn't in your electorate, they're still going to have a copy of your electorate's lower house ballot for you to fill out. Okay, so you've found your place, you've arrived, you've found a park, you've got your democracy sausage in hand. Chances are the next thing you're going to see is a bunch of people in brightly coloured t-shirts handing you how to vote cards. Now, you can check out our preferential voting video to learn more about these, but basically a candidate's how to vote card shows you how they would like you to order your preferences in a way that would be the most beneficial to them. This is just a suggestion though, so you do not have to follow it, but if you want, you are allowed to bring these in with you as a reference. Okay, you've lined up and now you've got inside. You're going to be directed to a table with a bunch of bored-looking people sitting in front of a big electoral roll book. They are going to ask you 3 things: your full name, your address, and if you voted before in this election, which hopefully the answer is no to, because you're only allowed to vote once. They will then search your name, check you off, and hand you 2 ballots, a big white Senate one and a little yellowish green lower house one. Now you're going to take these and walk over to one of the cardboard booths to start filling them out. These booths are here for privacy, by the way, so that no little sticky beaks can have a look at who you're voting for. Part 3. Filling out your ballot. Okay, we're here. We're in the moment. Let's quickly recap how you're actually meant to cast your vote. You know, the most important bit. On your lower house ballot, there's going to be a list of candidates with the party they're from in little writing underneath. You need to number every single box, starting at 1 with the person you want to represent you the most. If there are any boxes left blank, your vote won't count. Okay, on to the big white upper house bad boy, and these have actually been known to stretch for more than 1 metre long sometimes. So here you have 2 options. You can vote above the line, where you must number at least 6 parties, or you can choose to vote below the line, where you must number at least 12 candidates. You can keep numbering boxes for as long as you like after that, by the way, but if you don't go up to those minimums, your vote will be thrown out. Okay. I know this seems daunting, but the good news is there is no time limit. If you mess up, you just need to ask for a fresh ballot, and there'll even be people in the room to help you if you get confused. You will get this right. Now, once you've filled out both the papers and double checked them, you're going to pop your ballots in the correct boxes and hey presto, you've just exercised your democratic right. Part 4. Watching the results come in. Technically, you don't need to do anything after this, but if you're anything like me, you're going to want to watch and follow those election results like a hawk. So the polls close and the vote count starts on the dot at 6 p.m. But because of something called exit polling, where people are asked how they voted as they leave the polling place, we're going to already have a general idea of how the vote is looking in many electorates, basically from 6:01. Now, call me biased, but I believe the best place to stay up to date will be The Guardian's Election Live blog. So there you have it, you're fully prepared. Good luck out there, people. Make sure your vote counts.